Data lakes, data warehouses, data marts. What the hell is wrong with the data people and what are all these words? Well, don't worry. One of our passions is to make everything related to data easy for you, and this video will not fall short of that. So if we're talking about lakes and warehouses and marts, the best place to start would be data lakes. I'll need your imagination or the editor's talent to help you understand this. Imagine a lake. It's a closed place which receives water from different sources and there's no filter, right? Well, congratulations, you just also imagined a data lake. You see, just like a real lake with streams flowing into it from various places, a data lake also receives streams of data from different sources. It receives all sorts of material such as databases, logs, files, and more. It's like hoarding data. You put data in a lake just to have it, and then you organize it later. It's like filling a cupboard with everything you might need only to organize it later, or opening 1,000 tabs on your browser before deciding which ones are the particular ones you need right now. That's something I think we all do. The point of a data lake is that it allows for the storage of vast amounts of raw data in their original format until needed. Lakes allow for storing huge amounts of data, that's called scalability, in a variety of formats, that's called flexibility. So we have files, images, audio, and videos in a data lake. But don't mistake a data lake as a dump. No, it is not a dump. Data lakes are the ideal platform for artificial intelligence and machine learning. You see, data lakes comprise of vast amounts of data of all sorts and kinds, and that's the primary ingredient to train artificial intelligence. That's why the primary language used in data lakes is Python, and now you can understand why data lakes are so important. So let's imagine I have a company that produces stationery, and these pens and pencils are bits and pieces of data. They might be logs, documents, videos, databases of their own, really anything. Now, this is a data lake. It has captured all kinds of the stationery or the data, basically. It hasn't discriminated what kind of stationery it takes in, and, well, it's a mess. It's not really suitable for my analysis. This is where a data warehouse comes in. Now, a data warehouse is your organized center for the data you really need. It's a place where the data we need is collected, it's neatly organized and prepared for analysis. It's data that is ready for work. This removes all the clutter of data that is just noise for us and prevents data redundancy. I mean, it prevents having more than one copy of a piece of data. So for instance, we choose a bunch of the pencils that we need and we prepare the data. So for instance, I'm going to pick these pencils. Remember, these are representing data, and we prepare them for analysis. It's like sharpening pencils so that they're ready to work. But we don't just throw them away. We tidy them up in places and boxes so that everything is neatly placed in our data warehouse. So here I am placing all of these purple and blue pencils together, and I'm gonna place the pens in a different place. Now we're creating a data warehouse. This whole choosing, preparing, and placing has a fancy name that you should know. It's ETL, or extract, transform, and load. First, we have pick the data that we want from the data lake. That's called extract. Then you make sure they're ready for use. It's like making it sharper. That's transform. And finally, you organize them in the warehouse neatly, and that is load. So we have divided our bits of data in blue and green and purple pencils, pencils that aren't from these colors, and anything that has ink, which means that these crayons can just go away. We don't need them. A data warehouse is your organized center for the data you really need. It brings together, integrates, and organizes the right data so that you can easily analyze it later. It's like having a big storage house or a warehouse with neatly organized shelves and boxes. Each box can be labeled with different types of data. A data warehouse is known to be subject-oriented, meaning that all the data revolves around one subject. For instance, the different types of stationery I produce at my company. Now, it could be further organized too. It's also integrated, which means it's ready for analysis. The different types of data are now ready to be checked. Data in a data warehouse doesn't get deleted, and that's important. It remembers the history of each file. For instance, when it was entered into the warehouse, from where the data came, who has modified it since, and how. While data warehouses are critical for business intelligence, sometimes they're a little bit too much, perhaps in quantity and perhaps in the risk they create. That's why data marts were created. Okay, so now that we have our data warehouse, let's make a data mart from the pretend data warehouse we have here. We can see that the warehouse has neatly organized our stationery into pens and pencils and further organized them based on their color. Let's say I only need to analyze the pens. Well, what happens is that I choose the pens and I don't need these two anymore. Do you see what happened here? The amount of data that I have to work on has become far smaller. Now there's a far smaller database that my team needs to work with, which means much less complications, higher efficiency, a higher speed, and that thing that every company cares about a lot: less money to spend. But much more importantly, I can keep some of my data secret. You see, no one can see these. In Data Marts, you can provide only the data that each group needs for their project. You don't give people access to all of your data. If I don't want anyone to know that I'm also secretly producing purple pencils because I want to dominate that area of the business, I can just not let them know. I can just keep that data in my data warehouse and only reveal it when I'm ready to dominate that part of the market. That's one of the most important uses of data marts. So if anyone asks you why Data Mart, you can tell them to subscribe to our channel and find out for themselves, or you can explain that to compare warehouses to marts, data lakes are data oriented, which means they exist to store data and lots of it, whereas a data warehouse is subject oriented and is used to study a subject from various aspects, whereas marts are project oriented. Instead of getting ourselves entangled or drowning in a flood of data, we collect only the data that matters to the particular project at hand, making everything related to data analysis easier, faster, and perhaps even more accurate. It simplifies our data procedure. You can continue to tell your friend that a warehouse is something that we invest on to keep, whereas a mart can be used for short-term projects. It gives us faster insights too. Now, if your friend still hasn't subscribed, you can continue by telling them that you're not friends anymore. And also, one of the more important aspects of data marts is the level of security it provides. You see, the goal of a data mart is to provide certain teams with only the information they need. That means that the rest of your data remains safe and away from people who needn't have access to it. So a data mart makes the job faster, safer, and more accurate. An example that might help you remember all three together is a hospital. A hospital may collect all the data that it receives through its patients, staff, and devices and put them in their data lake. The data team may then clean and organize the data and put them into their warehouse, for instance, organizing it by HR, marketing, staff, patients, legal, disease, and whatever. And then a group might form a data mart to study the effect of all patients who've had a heart attack and how the medical staff responded. They will only have access to the data about all people who have had heart attacks and the service that the hospital has given them. That is their data mart. They won't have access to anything else. Another department, say the respiratory department, might want to see how the weather has affected the satisfaction of their patients. Like, do patients think lower about us when pollution is high and the respiratory difficulties increase? Do they blame us instead of the weather? They will visit the data warehouse and form a mart where they only collect the data on people who visited the respiratory department on days when the pollution was high. They won't know anything else. That is security. So the natural question is, which one is the right one? And the answer is, there is no right one. There is no one rule for all. Each of these structures has been designed to address a particular need that an analyst or a data scientist may require. I think you've got that by now. It depends on what you need. The differences revolve around the way data is stored, processed, and accessed. Understanding these differences is key to determining which one is best suited for a particular use case. Data lakes are more flexible. They're capable of storing huge amounts of raw, and I mean it when I say huge amounts of raw data, and are better suited for big data analytics, machine learning, and data discovery. Meanwhile, if you want a data warehouse, it means that you want something that is more structured, suitable for traditional business intelligence and reporting. And data marts are very picky when it comes to the data they use, making it safe, fast, and cheap. The choice between a data lake, warehouse, and mart will depend on your specific needs. So I hope you understand the differences between all these concepts. I understand that there are some concepts that easily get mixed up at the beginning of a data career. It happens to all of us. But we're here to clear that mess up and help you on your triumph. Don't forget, the comment section is all yours to add your opinions or ask questions from the community. And I hope you enjoyed this video.